Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, we're going to be going through a tier list for the game, which has been completely revamped in the categories. We've got Festo, we've got Soren in here. We're going to take a look at the lot. But before we get into that, we are going to do a $100 giveaway in this video. Just be subscribed and leave a comment and you'll go into the draw. We'll announce the winner in a community post in about a week or so. But, you know, we ain't getting any codes or something. And if the game's not giving us anything, like, we've got to do something to lift the vibe of the place because, hey, the vibe hasn't been crazy lately. So let's get into this tier list. So first of all, over here on Pridewind, they have done a full update of it. Now, when we look at the update, they basically say they've done the AFK stages and stuff, and they've changed the categorization. So we'll look at that. Earlier, they did put Festo into it as well, and I haven't covered it since that, so I want to talk about Festo as well. But when we look at the criteria, you can see they've changed these ones to be pre-EX, which is when you're using like epic tier with no weapon, post-EX, which is mythic plus an EX weapon, and then we have deficit pushing, which is characters at Supreme plus exclusive weapons plus 5 or plus 10, and pushing 3x deficits in campaign. Now, pushing at a high deficit depends on also some other things in your account, but around a 3x is what you can expect. Also, earlier in the season and stuff, you won't be pushing as high deficit. It sort of expands out over time. It's just a rough one. It's like, basically think of this as like super sweaty people who are spending hours upon hours every day in the AFK stage push. That's the ones we're looking at. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the tier list. Now, once again, I love the way they do this tier list. We've got the table mode or pyramid mode. We're going to jump into table mode and take a look at Festo first, and then we'll look at Soren as well. And then we'll go ahead and I want to look at the two main types of modes, which are going to be the AFK deficit and AFK post EX, because I feel like these are the most, general ones that we need to focus on. And then we're also going to have a touch on PvP. For Dream Realm, I feel like it's more boss specific. We don't need to look at a tier list for that. And battle drills, I don't see as many people stressing overly hard about battle drills, so we're not going to go too hard into that. But first of all, let's go into where is the Festo, if I can find the man. Here we go, Festo. So as you can see here, pre-EX, he is I honestly think pre-EX in those early game stages, if you had a copy of him, I think he would be absolutely amazing. I think he would be warranting an S, like just his damage mitigation, his extra clone, his double tanks in those early stages, I think would be great. But yeah, still, like, I mean, no one's really got there to test him anyway, so it doesn't matter. Post EX S plus and deficit S plus. He's just basically a really good stall tank, and that is pretty much what he does. So if you have high investment for him, he is going to work well in that. And then PvP is the other place he's getting some usage, because of his ability to once again stall out against the bursty metas and stuff like that. But that is with a heavily invested one. You're not going to get this functionality out of 1 or 2 copies. So he's that kind of unit where even though he is really solid in both AFK stage and arena, it requires so much investment to get him to that point that he's still not really worth dumping all your stuff into free to play. You're still better off going for the Rainier at the moment, or being an idiot like me and saving everything, hoping that Taylene comes and hoping she's god tier, and then hoping that it was a good decision and you didn't waste some boss progression. We'll have to wait and see. But that is Festo. Once again, not really too much uses in the bosses. I'm still using my single copy one in my King Croaker team. He gives me the best damage because he enables the King Croaker bomb to be focused on the front row, which allows me to go more offensive with my back row. But besides that, that's sort of where he is. The other new hero that we have in here is Soren, and as you can see, Soren not really making waves anywhere. One of those sort of niche units that, I mean, I've seen some niche PvP usage, but that's pretty much all you're getting out of Soren. Nothing crazy. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the pyramid mode and look at the first one I want to look at is post-EX. Now, post-EX weapon for AFK stage pushing, I feel like this is the sweet spot because I think this is where a lot of people will be. Myself personally, I used to like try and push super hard, but now it's kind of just like I'm just going to wait a day and then push it instead of getting it the day before. So once again, we will look at the high deficit pushing, but in general, this is pretty much what we're looking at the season. Most people now for the season, if you've got Iron Carolina built, I do think that Olmus is going to slot really well into the Iron team as well once he comes out. But, Iron Carolina, Damien, Arden, and then you've got either Thorin or, some people use Granny. You just use another tank. You're pretty much set with that team. Some people using Scarletta. obviously that team is going to be fantastic. That is one solid team. And then most people's second team will be an Odie team. Just keep in mind with the Iron team, when we look at Florabelle being in here, she can slot into that team super duper well as well. And also Rainier can slot into just about any team, but also can slot into those Iron teams because you can swap Iron to go ahead and tank. You can kill the one unit and then you can swap your focus around. So that is what we're looking at there. Like I said, that Iron team, very, very potent. And then the other team we're looking at is the Odie stall team, which is going to be very prominent for people's second team. Not quite as strong as the Iron team. Against some enemies, yes, it is. But basically, you're just relying on Odie and then stalling with the tanks. You're going to be using Brutus, Thorin, and Tundra are your main tanks that you're going to opt between. You got Coco, you got Smokey, and then you're pretty much set from that point on. And that is the core. You can sub in the Rowan, you can sub in a Huon. Huon can also be used in the Iron team. These are just some fantastic units that can be used in general all round. So that's basically what we're looking for at the meta when we look at the standard player that is pushing. You try and build an Iron team, you build an Odie team, you slap them in, away you go. We're still waiting to see a change from that meta. Now, when we look into the high deficit meta, obviously we've got different things going on there with the whole Smoky meta, which is definitely a thing. But for this area of play, which I think encompasses probably at least 90% of players, it's pretty cookie cutter what you're going for now. You know, we've got two really solid teams, and we're just waiting for something to come into the game that changes that up, because at the moment I don't see anything you know, sort of creeping above that for your average player. Once again, Odie, Iron, pretty much just two really solid teams. Now, sometimes you do have to get a bit technical, especially with Iron teams. If you got the lunging units and stuff like that, you got to get, you know, adjust your positioning and stuff like that. But in general, those two teams will get you across the board pretty nicely. Now, the two interesting ones I saw here are Reese Viperian. Obviously, some people are getting some use out of them. I don't really use them. My Viperian is Mythic Plus now. I do use him tech situations in PvP, but I haven't been using him too much elsewhere. And I love that Reese is up here because I do see some really high damage numbers out of Reese as well. It's just the, you know, I mean, he could have been a good option to slot into your wish list besides, you know, Elsa and also, where is he? Wait, what? Oh, dude, Shakir. Dude, I was looking at damage dealers. Yeah, but besides Elsa and Shakir, he could have been that other option to put in your wish list alongside the Smokey. But in general, you know, the other two are pretty fine options as well. But Reese is one I am happy to see just like getting a little bit more usage out of people. So that is fantastic. Once again, he can slot into some of those smaller teams, but Odie is still going to be your primary damage dealer for those teams. Moving into the deficit pushing teams, if you've seen my other video on the Lumont usage, basically these teams, when we look to deficit, once again, you are running like the Iron team and stuff like that, a lot of people, but we do also have Cassidy being used for repositioning purposes. Iron's obviously great for that. We've got Lumont, who's also great for that, and the idea is we're using a Smokey as a damage dealer with 4 other units meant to either control the enemy's positions or sustain the team. You don't bring a damage dealer. Smokey is your damage dealer, and all you're essentially doing is stalling out the battle till Smokey's third ultimate, getting all the enemies in range of his ultimate, and then they all just die during that one ult. I still think it's because Smokey is bugged, but hey, I could be wrong. But there's no way his damage is being capped at the attack rating it says it is, but maybe my math is just wrong. So we'll have to wait and see, but that is your deficit pushing. But like I said, if we go to post EX, this is where most people are going to sit with the Iron team and the Odie team. Now we move over into PvP. Now PvP is a very interesting thing for me at the moment. I am just using basically my Iron team, which is my PvE team, in PvP, which is Iron, Carolina, Arden, Damien, and Thorin. It's working pretty well. It's a really solid team in general. You can get some really good shenanigans as free to play with Odie at Mythic Plus, using Rainier and using the artifact that gives you a back row unit immunity. And basically, you can use that to use Rainier to not swap one of your allies, but bring the enemy across, and then you can nuke that one enemy, and then you're pretty much safe from there. Now, once you get into the more Iron to Iron meta on defense, it's much harder to do that. Another unit you can use for that is going to be Viperian. You don't need the artifact with him because he is immune to teleporting and stuff when he at the start of battle, so you can use him in conjunction with Rainier as well. Vala is still very, very potent. Vala is just a great defense option because a lot of people are trying to use like cleave teams and stuff like that on offense. And if they're doing that and Vala jumps at the right time, often Vala mixed with Rowan, and if she can get that potion so that she can use an early ult and she jumps away and misses the damage, then she can be really hard to get on top of later in the battle. So she is fantastic. Burial, just for PvP, he is so frustrating to try and manage once he gets on a roll. So Burial, really, really annoying, especially if you kill him and then they get a clutch kill, he comes back, he's just annoying as hell, especially in teams that are going to start separating you. He can be really, really frustrating. Just a really good defense unit in my opinion. Festo and Thorin, once again, still the two primary tanks. Thorin, just an absolute god tier unit for that in general. I find Damien to be just like the best healer at the moment in there. The way he can keep producing his cart and keep putting that massive top up heal can be so clutch in certain situations. And then we've obviously got Scarletta and Dionel doing fantastic things, but that is more whale territory, once again, like a Burial, that we're not really going to go too deep into because, you know, a lot of people ain't going to be there. Another one I think is fantastic is Floribel, also Sylvina. Sylvina combined with a Vala combo can be really, really potent. But Floribel, I really like on defense. Same with Igor, another great defense option, and same with Huan for defense. Huan in the Iron comp, dropping Carolina and running Huan instead can be a really annoying stall tactic for defense comps as well that I've lost to a few times as well. Igor, really potent when you pair him with the Niru with the exclusive equipment to put the thing straight onto Igor can be really frustrating and can stall you out for a long time. But Floribel is that other one. All the extra minions, especially if you're coming up against an Odie team, all the extra summons can be just too much to get over for an Odie team, and you just keep wasting your ults. It can be super frustrating. But in general, the Floribel and Cecilia team as well for free-to-play can also be a pretty solid defense when you combine the two of them, depending on the rest of your strategy as well. But that is what we are looking at for PvP. Like I said, PvP, all the metas are pretty, you know, just set at the moment, and we're waiting on something to massively mix it up. There's like, we haven't had a new standard faction character yet that has really mixed up the meta, except for Vala. I will say Floribel did a decent little job, but like not like Floribel didn't like break the meta at all. She was just like another option we can use. Whereas Vala, when she came out, obviously she was the first banner unit because people could max her. She like dominated that PvP meta when she came out, but we haven't seen like a new unit really go crazy in it. I do think Almas could make massive waves in the PvP meta, the way you'll be able to use your Iron ult straight away, and then it will instantly root the enemies, and then it'll follow up with an Arden root. Then by that time you can follow it up with a probably an Almas ult to continue this chain CC, and I think the chain CC capabilities that Almas will bring will be actually crazy. But once again, A-level character, rate of banner, I'm just not interested on doing that when I know I can have access to them much easier free to play later on than an S-level character. That's just my thoughts. But anyway, we will update you guys in the future once we get a couple more characters as well on the tier list. Once again, don't forget to be subscribed, leave a comment, you'll go into the draw. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.